Okay, let's talk a little bit about the University of Florida. My name is Mark Helms. I've been there since the fall of 2016. I'm the Assistant Vice President of Facilities. When I came to Florida, it was physical plant. And I should have known that I was going to meet challenges. I was going to find folks who were very ingrained in what they did, and it was going to be a challenge, but I was up for it. It is a huge university, about 25 million square feet. We have $1 billion worth of research happening on our campus, and they're relying on my folks every day to make sure there's power, there's water, the toilets flush, and the AC works. We have 2,000-acre campus, 450 acres of it, which are conservation area, which complicates everything we do, whether it's MS4 permits, stormwater, anything that we're doing. Those 450 beautiful acres make it very interesting to build on the campus. 25 million square feet, as I said, about 70,000 tons of cooling on that campus. Some of you guys go, wow, that's a lot. Of course, I use a teapot for steam, and some of you guys have some huge plants. Not a lot of steam production on our campus, but we do use some. A lot of hot water circulation for reheat. And we have the most sustainably certified buildings, meaning LEED, Green Globe, WELL, on our campus of any public university, 107. We'll never catch Harvard at their 158, but we're working hard. So when I got to UF, I started talking to the team, right? To the folks involved, folks I worked with every day. What are your challenges? What are you doing? We started reflecting on these simple principles of energy and optimization. And y'all look, there's nothing magic here. We wanted to eliminate waste. Well, you got 107 LEED certified buildings. You should be at least thinking in that direction, right? You wanted to optimize systems and sizing. Sometimes that's good. We had one project that they optimized the sizing and it wouldn't handle the building. There is a fine line. You have to be careful in what you're doing there, right? And then we wanted to make strategic decisions about what we were doing, how we could get some passive solar, how we could better work with it. Do we want to put up different blinds? Should we look at new types of glass? There were some interesting things hitting the market at the time. We want to maintain comfort while we're reducing our energy costs. Challenge accepted. Everybody working through those things, right? So the first thing to me was trying to understand the current systems. What do we have? There was no campus master plan. We had aging energy plants. We had an odd agreement with the local utility. We bought steam off of the backside of a turbine that about a month after I got there, they decided they weren't going to operate anymore, which created some interesting discussions. We had limitations on capacity and the ability to expand. We had energy plants that you were going to have to take out the newest chiller to get the oldest chiller out to replace it. Anybody else done that? You got a few dollars and you stuck one in because that's what you need, right? That's what we all do. We had unreliable infrastructure. We had domestic water lines that were over 100 years old. We had an original energy plant that was installed out in the middle of an agricultural field, and if they built the building, they ran a pipe. And if they built the building over here, they ran a pipe. They didn't establish any utility corridors. And we were seeing some real increases in our maintenance costs. You fix one pipe break, you create 3 more down the line. Any of you doing that? Steam line broke. Well, now it's going to break 3 more times while you're trying to put it back together, right? Because that thermal expansion of taking it offline and bringing it back is what really causes so many issues. I went to my director of operations and I said, Greg, what keeps you up at night? And it took him about 30 seconds to answer my question. We have a top 10 research vet school. We have emergency small animal clinics, large animal clinics. And so this was the heating plant and the cooling plant in that facility. It was built internal to the building. Every piece of equipment in there was going to have to remove something to put a new one in. And so we started thinking about, what do we do? How do we fix this? How do we keep top-tier research in this institution going, in this almost 1 million square feet of space. How do we keep that going and not disrupt the people while we're doing it? Because at this rate, it was going to be a decommissioning and recommissioning in the same space, and that just wasn't acceptable. So we commissioned a utility master plan. We looked at centrally looping energy plants. We had 10 separate energy plants across campus that were just put up when they thought they were going to build. We have one energy plant with 4,000 tons of capacity, and we pull about 500 tons of cooling off of that chiller plant today because that was just, there was no plan. We worked with the local utility to have conversations about how we brought energy into our campus. Everything comes into the UF campus on the perimeter. The internal distribution of utilities is all on the facility services folks. About $1 billion enterprise if you think about dollars and cents when we look at the total value of it. So we worked with them. We brought energy into campus at 23 kV. What happens if we bring it in at 69 kV? Well, suddenly my utility rate goes down $5 million a year. It cost me about $2.5 million to make the improvements necessary to begin bringing it in at 69 kV. We engineered a phased optimization plan for our energy plants. What's the first one we attack? We optimize, and then how do we connect it to the next plant? And so over the last couple of years, we've had projects, and we've spent $2 million here, $3 million in another project, $5 million in one project, and now we have 4 of our major chiller plants connected. I can backfeed from all chiller plants, and in that optimization and connecting that loop system, I suddenly had 4,800 tons more cooling capacity than I had when they were all standing alone. Let's get back to the vet med plant. We come up with a solution. Let's build something outside the building. Let's build a new energy plant. We had space, luckily, we had an opportunity to do it. Let's build a new energy plant. And then the only downtime will be when we make the transformation between the two plants. There were about $23 million worth of deferred capital renewal inside that building of vet medicine. It was about $25 million to build a new energy plant outside. And so we started looking for funding opportunities. And suddenly I realized I had $15 million that I could contribute toward the project, but I needed another 10. So we proposed an ESCO solution for that project. Can the energy savings for this project support a $10 million loan over the lifetime of the plant? We had some pretty high goals. Our baseline kW per ton was at 0.91. We targeted 0.68. And that was because we were going to do something creative. What did he say last night? Try to do something different, right? Don't do what you've always done. Let's try to do something different. Everyone plays baseball. Let's try to hit the ball left-handed or something, right? So working with, at the time, Siemens Energy, and looking at this as an ESCO partnership, we challenged each other, how do we make this even a more efficient plant? And so that meant the plant controls were then controlling the building systems, and so everything was talking, and suddenly it started to look more attractive. $24 million in construction costs. I will compliment that whole process. There were 2 change orders in that process. We added solar glass to this building because there's enough heat in an energy plant already, right, without adding sunlight. So we added photovoltaic glass. It was $130-some thousand difference. And we added controls to secondary and other pumps in the buildings. That was another about $150,000. Those were the only 2 change orders on this project. And today, when Greg Clark goes to visit the building, this is what he sees inside. And that was taken last week. That wasn't taken right when it was finished. This is a recent picture. Built a tremendous amount of pride among the folks that do our work every day. That's one story. UF has reduced its energy use and intensity while we've expanded over 5 million square feet since 2008. I'm not going to read the slide to you. I think you all can see. I am pleased that we continue to drive down energy consumption on our campus. We have just finished optimizing 2 energy plants. And next year, you'll see an additional 1% that's being driven by changes that we've made in those plants, connecting the two plants and controlling them differently. We're supporting more students at UF. We're over 60,000. We've increased 23%, and yet we've lowered our BTU per FTE. So we're getting close to the end here. The light's still green, but I'm thinking here. So let's talk about some takeaways from what we've tried to do. Don't be afraid, and you heard this last night, don't be afraid to try something new. Don't be afraid of the new technologies. Talk about them, work through them. I have guys that work for me that still would like to do pneumatic controls because that's what they understand. Push out the new technologies and then sit down with your staff and talk about why you're doing it. Here's what it's doing for us. Recognize your limitations of the existing systems. We know that we have plants that we cannot expand. What are we going to do? Are we going to change the technology that's in them and make them smarter? How are we going to work them? Planning is critical. How many of you have your boss run in and tell you he's got $5 million to spend? Do you have somewhere you can use it? Have it shovel ready and say, absolutely, I got it right here. Here it is, right? When they come and ask you about projects, always have something ready to happen. One size does not fit all. All of our plants, we did not go in and spend a lot of money. We didn't change a lot of drives. We didn't do a lot of things too because there's not enough load on those plants to justify spending the money. We'll get there, but we haven't yet. Don't be discouraged when you have a setback. We have a major project now that we were getting ready to do that was in excess of $90 million. It would have taken almost $60 million worth of deferred maintenance off. We've run into a snag. We've had to take a pause. We'll get there. Don't be discouraged. Expect resistance to new technology. You've got guys that have worked there for a long time. They don't want to change. You've got to win them over. You've got to convince them to be a Savannah banana. Financial rewards here can be significant. And what we have encouraged our CFO to do now is let us take these energy savings that we've been able to demonstrate to you. Let me collect those energy savings. This is money you're already spending. Let me collect those energy savings and reinvest them back into solutions that we've brought you that will save you money. Find strategic industry partners. You can't do it alone. Find someone. Siemens has been a great partner. I know they're here today. We've also done work with Johnson Controls and others. Find strategic partners to help you along the way. And always remember the politics. Somebody is going to throw a wrench in something you're doing. I think someone said this morning, they can do it better. Faculty senates can do it better, quicker, and more efficiently than you can because their brother is a contract painter, and he can do it, right? Always be ready for those politics and be ready to show your story and share your story. We don't do that very well in this business. We work behind the scenes. We've been taught to do that, right? Be quiet, slip in, slip out, do what you're going to do. If nobody sees you, then they aren't worried about you. We need to tell our story better. And that's probably the biggest thing from this that I will tell you. Make sure that your faculty and the people working in the building understand what you're doing every day to make their life better. I have one last picture, though. That is a pressure washing drone. If you are in the state of Florida, you cannot have a drone that has any Chinese components.
Indeed.
They don't make those. This one actually is part of the Department of Defense. We ended up getting an agreement, so we have it. So an interesting introduction into technology that nobody wanted. How are you?
Very well, thank you. And thank you for the presentation. Quick question. How did you reduce BTUs per student FTE?
Really through building automation, trying to look at occupancy sensors. How can we shut off? We are short cycling at nights, which is hard to do in Florida. If you leave a building down too long, you suddenly get this green and black stuff that grows inside, right? So you have to be very careful about how you're stepping buildings back. But that to me has been, we're peak shaving. We're looking at any opportunity we can to curtail. So just a variety of things. No one magic sauce. And in many cases, like with this plant, it's just newer equipment. We've got chillers that still have 1988 serial numbers on them. So they aren't very efficient. Thanks for your time. Thanks to the influence group for getting us together. This is a great opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark.